WonderCon recap. We break down the best of WonderCon, maybe a little of the worst, and key reveals, hidden gems, and what had the crowd buzzing.
The Last Boys is making waves with Adam Hughes' variant. Is the ratio cover back?
And Heathcliff versus Garfield. Yes, this is what you come here for. We dig into Heathcliff #1 and its role in Marvel's Star Comics line. What other podcast is talking about Star Comics this week, huh? It's Bronze and Modern Gods. That's what we do, Richard. We focus on things the others know was a waste of time.
Laser focused on the edges.
Exactly. Let's get right into it. WonderCon. Okay, so I'm at WonderCon. I went Friday during the day, and I went on Sunday afternoon. And I'll tell you what, that's probably the best strategic thing I could have done.
Really?
Friday, everyone's at work. So we sail right in. Parking, albeit expensive, is plentiful. We have no problem walking in, grabbing our badges and our bags and our goodies and hitting the floor. It was a okay crowd. I wouldn't say it was crowded at all. And I had the distinct pleasure of hanging out with David from Still Only 35 Cents YouTube channel. And also Gary from My Tales from the Spinner Rack, another great YouTube channel. And he had a great panel on Saturday that I did not go to, unfortunately, because I didn't go Saturday because I thought, all right, I saw everything I kind of wanted to see on Friday. I scoped out what I wanted to buy, bought a couple of little things I'll show you, but not a lot on Friday. Sat out Saturday, went Sunday at 2 p.m. So they're open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. Went at 2. Richard, they were ready to deal, my friend.
I'm sure.
I mean, I talked to a few retailers and I got, it was a tale of two cities. Yeah, it's been great. Oh, it's been fantastic. It's been really rough. Traffic was just really bad Sunday, according to a few people. And Friday was okay. And Saturday, everybody said, all the dealers, not everybody, but a lot of the dealers said the same thing. The big draw for WonderCon this year was Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane. They weren't there on Sunday. So Sunday, and then Friday and Saturday, everybody's in line for Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane. So some dealers thought they were a good draw, and yet they wish they had extended the time there. Lots of great dollar bin digging on Sunday. I got some screaming deals. I'm going to wait for show and tell to show some of them. And then I'm not going to call them out, but first of all, let's talk about the dealers. A lot of the usual suspects, the great guys, the big ones, Harley Yee, Terry, from our friend Terry from Terry's Comics, Comics Universe, our buddy, Blue Chip Comics was there. Nando from TNK was there. A lot of also local Southern California dealers. Like I said, the usual suspects. It's not a slam. It's not a diss. Just, hey, good to see these guys again. One dealer today, when I'm recording this on Sunday, he had a very nice, I would say 9.4 or above copy of Thor 225 on his wall.
Okay.
And, this is the first appearance of Firelord. That is the key. However, I won it because Hercules is on the cover, right?
Eddie, which is your favorite Greek superstar?
It's Hercules, 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 Hercules.
The one Thor that I'm missing with Hercules, because I refuse to pay the Firelord price for it. He had it up there for $275. Half off. Everything on his booth, half off for Sunday afternoon.
Wow.
So I'm like, zoink, can I see that, please? And I open it up, and it is very nice. And I would say it's just what he says on the tin, 9496. And I'm like, you know what? Spider Sense, flip through, go right to the Marvel value stamp. Cut completely, cleanly out. Just an empty square there. And I see the look on his face, the poor guy. I you know, he wasn't trying to rip anybody off. I honestly don't think he was. He looked so crestfallen and depressed and bummed that that stamp was missing. And, you know, I said, I kind of wish I'm trying not to be a know-it-all, you guys. Honest, I did say this is why you look through everything before you put it out for sale, because I've sold books and I've burned myself that way. You know, he goes, yeah, I know. I don't know how I missed that. But that was a bummer. Can you imagine if I had gotten that book for half off?
Yeah, yeah. But you know, like you say, it's why you thumb through those books before you buy. Imagine if you had if I had bought it, got all the way to Ohio, and found out the value stamp was cut out.
I like practicing what I preach, because I tell you guys all the time, you know, ask the dealer to open the book for you and flip through it. And I'm sure glad I did, because that would have been a big, that would have been rough. Big buzz of the convention, 2 books. There was a G.I. Joe exclusive by Mark Spears that everybody was buzzing about. And then, of course, the Todd McFarlane Spawn exclusive, the WonderCon exclusive. I believe the cover's by Brett Booth. Here is what is cool. I'm going to give Todd some major props. You could get in line and get 1 book signed by Todd McFarlane for free.
Oh, wow.
No charge. You got in line, you went up to this little buzzer that you hit, and it was random. And if you got selected, you got in another line to get your book signed. And so it was just a really cool, fun thing for him to do. So way to take care of the fans, Todd.
Wow. And was there a facilitator there for CGC to
a CGC was there. Beckett/CBCS was there. Our friend Brian was not. He's on vacation. I found that out ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Hi, Brian. So that's the other story I kind of want to talk about. Brian, plug your ears. Not a lot of people in line at either booth. Now, keep in mind, I wasn't there Saturday, but I walked by first thing Friday. I walked by later in the day Friday. I walked by on Sunday a few times. And, you know, I would say maybe the most I saw in line at the CGC booth was like 10 people, maybe.
You know, California Comic-Con, it was also pretty light for CGC's booth.
There was nobody submitting at Cal Comic-Con at CGC. Yeah. That was scary. But those were the hot books at WonderCon, but neither one of those is our hot book of the week. Richard, tell everyone what it is, because I picked it for you.
Book this week is Last Point #1 from Boom Studios. This was an exclusive with a glorious Adam Hughes cover for the 1 in 25 variant. This is pretty cool. Selling for as high as $85 on eBay right now. And
Richard, is this on the want list?
This reminds me a lot of the Dolphin cover.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that same kind of feel to it, even though it's not water, but it has that feel to it. I would definitely be interested in this. I don't know if I want to pay $85 for it, though. I think I'll wait a little bit and see if it cools down.
I didn't see anybody with that book up on the wall. I saw plenty of copies of the A cover, which looks nothing like this, you guys. But I did see a lot of dealers have something, you know, we've seen this over the years, but I saw a preponderance of it at WonderCon. Artist sections in their boxes. So there was a huge, here's my Dave Stevens section. Here's my Adam Hughes section. One guy had a Hernandez Brothers section. I was excited to see that. Lots of copies of Luba. No. But I saw a copy of Dead Planet #7, the final Dave Stevens cover, which I thought you would be interested in. I shot you, was it $200 he was asking for that?
Yeah.
That was pretty pricey. But
now, if he was doing a half price, then that would be a different story.
But lots of dealers bringing some variety, which I was really happy to see. So let's talk about that in our show and tell. Manga has invaded the mainstream dealers.
Okay.
By that, I mean people like the man behind the red hood. Comics Universe, people like that, they had out copies of Viz Sailor Moons, the Mix magazine that featured Sailor Moon originally in America. And then one guy had this on the wall. I had never heard of this. Raphael saw it and said, that's an expensive book. It's going to be hot. Grab that for me real quick. Card Captor Sakura #1.
Okay.
Sure, whatever. It's from that same early Viz Sailor Moon era when they were using the Mix branding. This is another one of those magical girl kind of manga books that became a cartoon, I believe, an anime, and sells for about $90 on eBay, and we got it for $50.
Wow.
But it was on a wall. It was a wall book next to Venom and your Deadpools
right.
One guy was selling Absolute Batman for $50, by the way.
That's wrong.
I just want to say that, guys. But yeah, I never heard of Card Captor.
No. Hey, when Harley Yee has it on his wall, then I'll believe it's really.
Harley had some great prices. Say what you want. Harley had some good deals. I didn't buy anything because I was. Well, I'll get to that later in my show and tell.
Yeah.
But
for those who don't know, Harley Yee is a fixture when it comes to comic book dealers at these shows. He always has such a great variety of Golden Age and early Silver Age books that he sells at a premium because he can.
War books, romance. I mean, he's the one that brings the oddball stuff. So he knows what he's doing. What you got?
I got a couple books. Okay, this everyone knows my love of. Speaking of Adam Hughes, we all know the Legion of Superheroes #23, the meteor with Supergirl on the top of it. Well, there's a book called Patriotica, which is an independent book, and they have done a version of that.
Are you sure it's not pronounced Patriotica?
Is it?
Because she's,
okay, maybe I've been pronouncing it wrong all this time. Patriotica.
Yeah, USA and
Mount Olympus Comics does it. The artwork is actually pretty nice on the inside. I'm not sure who the cover art is.
Greg Land open mouths.
Yeah. It's truly an homage to that original Supergirl cover. And but they weren't done with that. They have this, but then they also have a metal cover that I had to put tape over it because otherwise I would not be able to show this on a family show.
Salute the flag.
Yes. For those who are listening in, it's the same Supergirl, but she's got no top on. And this is one of those weird. I don't normally buy these, but this is a metal cover. They have foil, and foil wasn't good enough, so then they had to do these metal plates that they glue onto the cover of comics, and it's a metal cover. I have bad history with these things because I've dropped them before, and the metal bends, and it's irreparable. You can't do anything about it. So, and there is a third version of this, which is the same thing without the topless version with just a regular cover instead of the metal cover. I bought these a while ago, and I don't remember. The only place you can get them is from originally, at least, is from their website. They have a website that you can go in and buy. It's MountOlympusComics.com. They advertise on Facebook too, which is how I came across it.
Smart. See that meta advertising works, Evan. All right, just a little aside to our friend Evan there. So I was happy at WonderCon to see the return of the dollar bin. Okay. Several dealers had dollar bins, boxes and boxes, $2 bins, boxes and boxes, $5 bins, 3 for tens, more than a few. A lot of them got the memo, and everyone that had those bins had a crowd. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, your Golden Age dealers, they were doing okay, and 2 or 3 people. but everybody with dollar bins or discount bins had a crowd. So all these books I'm going to show were from these various discount bins. One of them is by the way, I haven't rebagged them yet. So everyone with the crinkly bags, slow your roll. Charlton Classics #3 with Hercules, one of the ones that I was missing. Yeah, a 9.4 copy. I mean,
wow,
really good.
Charlton 9.4 or a regular 9.4?
I would say a Charlton 9.4. As you can see, it's already dark from the 80s, already kind of tanning. But look, hey, I got something.
Yeah,
Herc. He's like he goes both ways. This was in a dollar bin. It was priced for $10, but it was in the dollar bin. And so I was like, and then I looked and I saw several other books were priced, but they just threw them all in a dollar bin. Walt Disney Comics and Stories number 516. Is that
his
ever
first appearance?
I don't know if it's his first appearance, but it's never going to be reprinted, is it?
Oh no, probably not.
That Song of the South.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that and I thought, okay, well, I have to yoink that for sure. But those were a couple of the dollar bin things I got. I'm going to save the other ones for after you go your next turn. But
Okay.
I did have to tell. I have a quick story. I had to stop myself from buying a book. I was this close. Hanna-Barbera TV Stars #1, Captain Caveman and Great Grape Ape.
Grape Ape. I like Grape Ape. Wasn't a big fan of Captain Caveman.
It was an unslabbed CGC 9.4. He had the label with it, but he broke it out. And I saw why it was a 9.4. There was one non-color breaking spine tick that I could absolutely press out. He wanted $100 for it. And it was Sunday. And he's like, everything's 10% off. And I'm like, do I offer him 50? Because I went on eBay and I looked and higher, not high grade, but like VF copies are selling for $40, $30. So it's not $100 book, I don't think. But you guys tell me if I'm wrong. So I passed it up. But just so you guys know, old days, I would have bought that book in a heartbeat just to show it to you on this show. This is how everyone's buckling under this new economy. All right, Richard, what's your next show and tell?
My next book is a graphic novel, actually. This is New Mutants. This is the third print of the Marvel graphic novel #2, which is the first appearance of the New Mutants. First print is that black cover with all of the mutants, New Mutants in their classic pose, as is the second print. By the time they got to the third print, they made it in this format, which is comic book size as opposed to graphic novel size. And this is Adam Hughes cover doing the art on this.
I like how he draws Rain Sinclair, Wolfsbane, the cute little, like a bear cub. So pull that up closer where you can see, is that supposed to be a wolf? It looks like a little bear cub.
Yeah, kind of looks like a bear cub.
Are you a fan of this Adam Hughes cover?
I'm a fan of Adam Hughes' work. I like the original better.
Yeah.
Frankly, that's what I'm used to. Maybe that's just, curmudgeon me. I respect this cover, but if I had to choose between the two, I'd pick the other one.
Did you like my leading question? I asked it, are you a fan of this Adam Hughes cover?
What do you think about it?
I don't think it's his best. I think I see what he's going for, but gosh, who's missing? Where's Cannonball? Oh, is that Cannonball with long blonde hair?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Oh, I thought that was Magma or something. I didn't even realize
it was just streaming behind him. Let's give him the credit.
Sunspot
looks kind of, I don't know. Yeah, they're all kind of they're not what you're used to. I guess maybe that's the best way of putting it. I'm used to the that original. I'm not sure who the original artist was.
McLeod.
Was it McLeod?
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to that as opposed to this. But hey, everybody has their favorite. I'm sure people like this one more.
I guess. All right. I am super happy because, all right, I shouldn't talk about this because then everybody's going to start looking for these. I don't want everybody, guys, let me talk about it, but don't buy them until I'm done. Okay. Can we all just agree on that? I think the only two people in the world right now working on a Savage Dragon run are myself and Longbox Love Affair, who we met in Baltimore, because he just dropped a video where he got a bunch of Savage Dragons he's missing. Two people had lots of Savage Dragons in their boxes. They weren't dollar bins, but this one was $5 bins. Okay, so I got issue 104 for $5, mint. Excuse me, 110 for $5, 111 for $5.
Now, are any of these the low print run books?
All of them are.
Okay.
120 for $5, where he ran for president against John Kerry and George W. Bush. These are all $10 to $15 a pop.
Okay.
Usually. And then another guy had a bunch of keys, Savage Dragon keys. He knew what he had. I know what I have. And he had them priced accordingly. Here, issue 130 he had for $15.
Okay.
Issue 186, a really tough one, he had for $10. And issue 197, maybe 4,000 print run.
Wow, that low.
$4.
Wow.
Now, here's the kicker of this story. I added up. Okay, I got $29 here, right? I go up to him and I say, I literally have the stack like this. He has no idea what I'm holding in my hands. And I say, will you take $25 for these? He goes, sure.
Okay.
Why did I say 20? B, he didn't even look to see what I guess he saw me pawing through the boxes maybe and just saw what I had and said, oh,
Yeah.
Or find those Savage Dragons. Thank God.
He may be valuing them by weight. So the less books he has to pack up and haul home.
Could be, but so super happy with that snack. So really good. What's your last show and tell book?
My last one is a book that it's Foom number 4.
Hey, let's get right to it. Lots of doom on the walls, by the way.
Really?
The doom on the walls.
I think people are excited about the prospects of both Doom and Robert Downey Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on the fence. I've heard so many different rumors about how they're going to do it, and Doom is actually a variant of Tony Stark, and we'll have to wait and see how that plays out.
None of us know. Truth is, none of us know.
Right. This is Foom number 4. Foom is a fanzine, a Marvel fanzine, Friends of Old Marvel, from back in the 70s, right? Did it start in the 60s or was it start in the 70s?
1973.
73.
60s was the MMMS, the Mighty Martial Society.
And I love this particular cover because I have a poster on the wall over here of this pose of Doom, and it's signed by Frank Miller. It's signed by sorry,
Jack Kirby.
Yes, it's signed by Jack Kirby. So
did Eric Larson draw that cover? Look at that hand.
it's and this is a nice copy too. It's not mint. You can see there's some discolorations there. And it even says they're winter of 1973, issue number 4.
Little Bled will take care of that.
Yeah. Issue number 1 is still a Foom, is still ridiculously priced. I remember seeing people. There's one guy, one convention that I go to. He had an issue number 1 that he considered mint, and he wanted $20,000 for it. Yeah, you keep waiting for that payday.
He doesn't want to sell the book.
He doesn't want to sell it. This I'm not sure exactly what it's. I haven't looked it up because this is like a PC book. I'm not really that interested in selling it.
You remind me, there was another dealer there who's a local guy here in Southern California, Champion Comics. Sorry, I forget his name. I took David from Still Only 35 Cents and Gary from Tales from My Spinner Rack to his booth on Friday because I don't know, dude, what you found, a warehouse or something. He had treasury editions. Like half of his booth was nothing but treasury editions in super sharp condition. But it wasn't like, here's one of each. He had literally like 12 copies of #1 Spider-Man,
Wow.
10 copies of #2 Fantastic Four, and so on, and like 12 copies of 2001. And David's trying to finish his treasure run. I'm ruining it for his show, David. I'll let you talk. All right, I don't want to spoil it, but he also had a bunch of Fooms, and that was one of the Fooms he had multiples of on his
Oh,
rack.
really? Really?
And so it's like, dude, you're killing the market here, but
Yeah.
it's a reminder. We think these things are scarce and expensive. We have to remind ourselves there were collectors in the 70s that were hoarding these things.
Yeah, and there's still, our buddy Golden Age Guru talks about having a short box full of Hulk 181s, and whenever he wants to raise some funds, he'll pull one out and sell it.
Yep.
These are mass produced items. These are not, their scarcity is because people didn't take care of them. And if that comes across a stack that someone did take care of, that affects that scarcity.
Our buddy Rob from Man Behind the Red Hood, he had those Ultimate Fallout 4 Drujevic variants. He had 5 on the wall Friday. He was down to 2 this afternoon. So
That's crazy.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I'm glad people are making money. And speaking of making money, hey, support the show. You don't have to, but if you become a member, you help out the show for the cost of just $2.99 a month. You get something out of it. You get an extra show and tell episode on Wednesday. You get exclusive live members only streams on Thursdays.
And this Thursday was lit. It was a lot of fun.
Man, it was filthy. Filthy. Actually, you can watch last Thursday's live stream. We made it public for everyone here on the channel. And it's where we reviewed our first episode. We live reacted to it. And you want to watch that and get a little taste of what that's like. You also help us go to more shows and provide coverage this year. Just hit join here on YouTube next to the subscribe button or in the link if you're listening to us on a podcast platform. Woo! Time for viewer mail.
You've got mail.
Richard, what is your first piece of viewer mail?
My first piece of viewer mail is from Joe Cop 85 on YouTube. And Joe Cop says, great episode once again, gentlemen. I am excited to read JSA Golden Age after hearing the two of you talk about it. That was the JSA Golden Age book was our limited series that we talked about. I'm always looking for DC recommendations. Currently reading Ostrander's Suicide Squad and Robinson's Starman. If anyone has any other recommendations, please let me know.
Go first.
Yeah, we got a lot of comments about the Golden Age. I'm glad people are interested in that book. I'm sorry, hold on. Somebody wants to be in the picture. I'm glad that people are interested in that book. I thought it was pretty fascinating. It's that kind of parallel to the Watchmen series. If you haven't read it, it looks to be a good series to get under your belt.
For those of you listening on the podcast who have no idea what Richard just did, he just grabbed Tinkerballs, his cat, who, for the benefit of people who don't have YouTube and are listening in their cars, Tinkerballs is adorable AF.
Until he starts knocking things off, then he likes to knock things off of counters. That's his favorite thing.
Joe Cop, I'm glad you're reading Ostrander's Suicide Squad. It is one of the best books DC published in the 80s. Absolutely. If you like that, you need to read his Spectre with Tom Mandrake, and you need to read his Firestorm with Tom Mandrake. He completely disassembles Firestorm and recreates it as an fire elemental rather. And it's fantastic. It just didn't sell enough to survive. If you haven't read Grant Morrison and Richard Case's Doom Patrol, I love that book, and you need to read that as well. I actually like the Eric Larson run of Doom Patrol. Big shock there for Mr. Dragon Guy. So many good things. You guys in the comments, you guys let Joe know what to read. While I move on to my first piece of viewer mail, which came to our email address at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Dave Mac P. As always, I look forward to listening to your show on my way home from work on Mondays. I just want to add my thoughts on coloring books. Here we go again. I collect original comic art, and I have moved some of the collecting to coloring books original art. Oh, now we're getting granular.
Meta of the meta. That's awesome.
I know. You can get some nice artists through their coloring book work for cheap.
I never thought of that. That's
I
awesome.
have Ernie Cologne's work on Sectors. Dan Spiegel, Dan friggin' Spiegel, love me some Dan Spiegel, did the Flipper coloring book. Flipper. And I have a few pages. Some of the best pages are by artists I'm not sure of. I love the notion of having original art for work that was meant to be defaced by crayons. I know this is long, but just today I was in an antiquarian bookshop and he had a pristine copy of the JFK coloring book. I'm going to stop my jokes about the red crayon. I looked it up and all the art is by Mort Drucker. I picked it up for $20, which feels like a steal, especially because it is unblemished. I think you're right. Keep doing your thing and making us feel like this is a true community. Dave, thanks, man. Wow, you are digging deep. Yeah, deep cuts here. Original coloring book art, Richard.
I love it. I never thought of that. He's absolutely right, though. I mean, there's got to be some resource out there that has, because this original art, regardless if it's a comic book or if it's a coloring book or if it's a poster, there are collectors out there who will value the work for a particular artist. So that's a great avenue to find that original art.
I wonder who got the Ditko art for like he did the Transformers coloring books and stuff like that. Chuck Norris coloring books. Man, somebody get some Ditko art for cheap. Richard, what's your next?
Somebody should get probably some Sienkiewicz art and give it to a third grader to color.
It already looks like it has been. Come on. I said it for you.
My next piece of viewer mail is from a viewer called TT, talking about Captain Canuck. Captain Canuck rather neatly sums up Canada's cultural identity. I mean, we mostly absorb American culture and often cross over into it. You know, co-creators of Superman to John Byrne to Todd McFarlane, etc. And we have a heavy self-deprecating view of in-your-face nationalism that makes stuff like Captain Canuck seem comical in a way that Captain America rarely is to Americans. I respect your hesitation about talking politics, so I won't go on at length. But my generation of Canadians has always lived semi-comfortably with that paradox that while most people see hockey as our great claim to fame, the NHL is mostly owned and run by Americans, and most pro players, hockey players, would vote for Trump if they could.
I'm drinking my tea.
It's complicated, but not very interesting to most Americans. That's what my 2 cents worth of commentary that I get for becoming a member. Yes, TT, thank you. Thank you for your comment about.
Is this the new member TNT? I bet you it is.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I live in Ohio, northern Ohio, and Canada is right across the pond from us. We used to go to Toronto quite frequently, my wife and I, and I've actually been there with Evan, and Toronto used to be kind of like a goth haven for us here who are local. So I have experience with Canadians, and there is definitely a difference in attitude between Americans and Canadians. I think I side more with the Canadians because I'm a more laid back personality. But anyway, it's good to be self-deprecating. It's good to be flexible and understand that not everything has to be taken seriously. So I think Captain Canuck kind of portrays that, and it is a huge difference between Captain Canuck and Captain America. Don't you think, John?
No comment. I'm not going to say anything about Canada. And I think we should move on to our next piece of viewer mail, which comes from our buddy, Brett Rubin. Hope you're both well. Love the show as always. One addendum to your most recent episode. As someone who's always loved our friendly neighbors to the north, I also always thought Captain Canuck was Canada's first homegrown hero. But at a recent Heritage online auction, I saw they had a slabbed copy of something I'd never seen or heard of before, Triumph Adventure Comics #1 from Hillbrow Studios.
Wow.
This rare issue from August 1941 features the first appearance of, drum roll, not only Canada's first superhero, but also a first heroine, Nelvana of the Northern Lights. Leave it to Canada to be a wee bit more progressive than us Yanks down here. She debuts 4 months before Wonder Woman.
Wow.
Like most vintage Golden Agers, she doesn't seem to last that long beyond World War II, but she beats out Captain Canuck. And yeah, Guardian's suit is cooler, but Byrne was definitely ripping off the good Captain. Any chance you guys are headed down to C2E2 next month? Love to get a Bronze and Modern Gods Chicago edition posted. Just an FYI, that means only mustard, no ketchup allowed. Regardless, in the Windy City or otherwise, make mine with John and or Richard. All the best, Brett. I'm not going to talk about Canada.
Okay. What about?
No, I'm kidding. If there's one thing these hosers need to learn real quick, you're going to give up your universal health care and you're going to be suffering like us. Just wait.
Oh boy.
If you're on the podcast, my eyes are rolling so hard right now. They just stuck in the back of my head. Yeah, Brett, we're not making it to C2E2, are we? Isn't that in a couple weeks?
Yeah, unfortunately, the timing just isn't working.
But I have heard of Nelvana. I don't know why I didn't think of it because there was a whole article, I believe, in Comic Book Marketplace years ago about her. And you are absolutely right. Slipped my mind. You are correct. She was first. I believe there was also some sort of Mountie, super Mountie, wasn't there? A character like that.
Oh, I was just trying to quickly look it up. I haven't seen her.
Yeah,
Wonder Woman's. That's pretty important, I think.
Pretty significant. Well, at least we're finally off the subject of Canada. So let's move on to your next viewer mail, Richard.
My next viewer mail is from Matt Hexamer, and he says, as a Canadian,
oh Jesus,
buying comics off a Max Milk spinner rack at the time, I can let you know that we all thought Captain Canuck was extra lame.
Oh, wait. All right. This is your email, so you answer first. I have
no. It's fun to there's different perspectives on it. Just like American comics. Some people like. I used to hate Iron Man. Iron Man's somebody's favorite title. It's definitely in the eye of the beholder. But I think the fact that Canadians can take Captain Canuck, someone who's supposed to represent them, is tongue in cheek, is different than we Americans who look at Captain America in a little more serious light. So I think that shows kind of the differences in our national identities.
Matt, I hear what you're saying. I think you have Captain Canuck Mark I, which is the Richard Comely Captain Canuck. And then after a few years hiatus, he comes back drawn by George Freeman. You got to admit that George Freeman art is gorgeous. I don't know why he never made the leap to Marvel full time. He did I believe a Jack of Hearts miniseries for Marvel, and that was about it. He was a fantastic artist. So those later issues of Captain Canuck are just gorgeous. Story wise, who knows? I just looked at the art. My last piece of viewer mail is also from our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from our member Ariel, who writes, John and Richard, on this week's show, you brought up Marvel Fanfare and didn't have great things to say about it. But what about issues 10 through 12? It has wonderful George Perez art and centered around the Black Widow. It's my favorite from the entire run of Marvel Fanfare. I just think those gorgeous covers would catch Richard's attention. What do you think? Signed, Ariel. Ariel, here's my issue with settle in here because I'm going to rant. Here's my issue with Marvel Fanfare. It was presented to us, the fan, as a deluxe package that is for the serious Marvel fan with new stories created especially for you, featuring your favorites. And it started off going into the inventory drawer of unpublished stuff that had been sitting there forever. And that's what it always did. In fact, the Black Widow story you're talking about was originally done for Marvel Spotlight years before and sat in a drawer. George had to go back and finish part of it because it wasn't finished. And then there's one issue, I think it's the first issue that has the Iron Maiden, her first appearance. Run for the hills.
Wrong Iron Maiden.
Drawn by Art Adams, one of his first covers, because George wasn't around. He was at DC at that point. So it just was like stinky, moldy stuff sitting in the drawer. But you're right about the covers. I mean, you've got the gorgeous Marshall Rogers cover on issue 5. But then, oh, look, it's a Carmine Infantino Doctor Strange inventory story that never got published, and they didn't get around to it, so they finally published it in Marvel Fanfare. But then a few issues later, they would live up to their name. Here is a beautiful Barry Windsor Smith original story done for Marvel Fanfare with a new cover. So it wasn't so much that it was a crappy book, it just was inconsistent.
Yeah, and the trade dress is horrible.
Well,
Horrible.
But I do agree. I think it's an underrated series for the covers. Also, if you go inside, a lot of them have pinups by Frank Miller, Paul Smith, Michael Golden. So there's some beautiful, beautiful art hiding in some of these issues of Marvel Fanfare. And there's some beautiful art and stories. There was, I believe, a 3-parter with the Warriors 3 that was drawn by Charles Vess that is just gorgeous. That was done especially for Marvel Fanfare. That's the kind of stuff I wish they had done. But it would always end up being, here's a Shanna the She-Devil story that was drawn by Don Heck that was for the Savage Tales back in the 70s and never got published. Stuff like that just ended up in there. So that's why I kind of rant like some old fart.
And that you are, John.
You know what, Richard? It's our 5th anniversary. Why don't you do the honors?
It's the old fart rule.
That is 2 weeks in a row, Richard. The old fart rule is when we go back 40 years, because we're old farts, and look at the books that shaped our collecting habits and other things. This one didn't shape our habits per se. I just thought it was interesting that it is 40 years old this year. It is Heathcliff #1 from Star Comics, aka Marvel.
Yeah.
This was one of the launch titles for Star Comics. It was one of the first books published under that imprint, which was created to compete with other kid-friendly publishers like Harvey. Star Comics would go on to release titles based on popular cartoons and toy lines. You may know Star Comics mostly for things like Droids. That was a Star Wars title. Gosh, what was the most popular Star Comics title? No, it wasn't Royal Roy, a complete ripoff of Richie Rich. And
yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Star. I remember the Star imprint, but I don't remember buying any of it, to be honest with you.
Well, because it was Muppet Babies and Popples and things like that. It wasn't for us. It was for kids.
Right.
This Heathcliff was released at the height of Heathcliff Mania, following the success of the animated series that aired that year. It was always Heathcliff versus Garfield, right? They were often compared as the two most popular comic strip cats. Aren't they the only two? Would you count the
Jerry?
Would you count the cat and Mutts?
No, I would not.
Comic strip Mutts. Garfield obviously had more mainstream success. Heathcliff had a loyal fan base. Heathcliff walked on 2 legs. I guess that's another difference. While it's not a high value key, people love their Heathcliff #1. Finding a high grade copy is very tricky. As we always say, many of these copies were heavily read by kids, making near mint copies less common. And it's part of a unique period when Marvel was experimenting and trying different things with all ages humor-based comics. Peter Porker was a Star comic.
Oh, okay.
It's a reminder when Marvel wasn't just about superheroes. They were actively chasing the Saturday morning crowd with books like this. Ewoks, Care Bears, Masters of the Universe was a Star comic. Now, a CGC 9.8 of Heathcliff #1 sells for about $170. So if you want one, not a bad time. It's down quite a bit from its height in the comic boom of 2021. As we pivot to our underrated books of the week, unless, Richard, you have more to say about Heathcliff?
Nope, I don't.
You picked this, and I'm so angry at you. Oh, go on.
I, I picked Agent America #0 from
Oh,
Awesome Comics back in 1997. Oh my goodness. It for those who are listening, this is covered by Rob Liefeld and Joe Seibel. It's basically Rob doing Captain America. Uh,
ugh.
he, after he left the series, he wasn't allowed to do Captain America as his own character, obviously. So he had some art left, and he modified it to be Agent America instead of Captain America, and it is inhuman in its musculature. I
Well,
don't. It's his six packs has six packs.
it gets worse. The rumor is, and I'm saying rumor because I'm sure it's true, but I'm going to protect myself by saying rumor so Robservations doesn't go on a rant. He had all the art left over from when he got fired from Captain America. And so he just repurposed it here. There's a Red Skull character that's redrawn to not be Red Skull. So yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, Marvel threatened to sue him, so he had to modify it all.
Yeah, look at how much he modified it. Good job there.
This is this is a 12-page preview. There was no issue #1 though, as far as I know. This was just this issue 0 was the only issue for this character.
I think you have your timeline wrong. This was the teaser that got him sued. So to get around it, he went to Joe Simon and licensed Fighting American.
Okay, yeah, you're right. So yeah, it's a piece of comic history.
It's something, all right.
You get Rob, and the character doesn't have any feet on the cover, if you notice that. But he also can't touch his fingers together, I don't think, from different hands.
Barbie doll crotch.
Raws go for about $10 to $30 on eBay. But if you hold out, I would hold out for a better copy at a good price. This is not necessarily a highly coveted issue, but if you like Cap memorabilia, like John does,
don't you dare.
This should be on the bottom of your list.
It should be on the bottom of your shoe. What's going on under his arms? Is that supposed to be his shield?
That's what I guessed. Was there's his shield on his back, because you can see some of it over his shoulders. It's not a circle though.
No, it sure isn't. He didn't bother to get a compass. They don't connect with the shield at the top.
No, it doesn't. And he's got pouches. Captain America has pouches because I'm sorry, Agent America has pouches because 1997.
My head hurts. My head hurts. Let's take a nice drink here. This vodka, thank God. My underrated book this week is something I saw at WonderCon, and I lusted after it so much that it and its partner. It is 3D action #1 and only from Atlas Comics, 1954, the height of the 3D craze in the 50s. This is one of 2 3D comics that Atlas published, the other one being 3D Tales of the West. A dealer had both of them.
Oh, wow.
With the glasses inside. $300 each. They were about 3.0s. Each of them were 3.0s. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I kicked the tires several times. He's like, make me an offer. And I'm like, I don't want to insult you. He wouldn't come up with an offer for me. So it was a standoff. So I thought, you know what? I don't need this. Here's why I thought I don't need this. It's oversized. So it doesn't fit in a comic book box. If you can see here on the podcast, if you're looking, on YouTube, it's actually pretty wide. Right. So it has to go into a magazine bag. Okay. So immediately I'm like, where am I going to store this thing? But it has a beautiful Carl Burgos cover, creator of the Human Torch. It was a rare comic of the 50s that cost 15 cents, only 15 cents, it says. came with not one, but 2 pairs of 3D glasses in case you lose one, right there on the cover. In case you lose one. Both of his copies had both pairs of glasses. They were loose. I'm not sure how they were attached originally to the book. But 3D Action has war stories, spy stories, but worst of all, Richard, it has a new redrawn version of the story A Boy and His Dog from Men's Adventures #4, which, if you remember from the podcast, I told you about it before. One of the saddest, most heart-wrenching stories. It's the poor little boy has a puppy that he loves so much, and his dad kicks the dog and abuses the dog and kicks him out of the house. Says, keep that dog out of the house. The house catches on fire. And so the dog is scratching at the door, and the dad's like, ignore that dog, blah, 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 blah. And of course, the house goes up in flames. The little boy dies. And the dog is stuck with the man. He's like, you're my dog now. How could I not listen to you? My boy's dead.
Oh, God.
Now you can see it in 3D, in 3D Action #1.
Comics, folks.
Yes.
That's it has to be the most depressing story.
How is it an action stories? But I
in 3D too. That's
drawn by George Tuska, by the way, everybody. Tough book. No recent sales on eBay, so I couldn't do a price comp. The most recent sale on GPA was for a CGC 7.0 for $720 back in April of 2023. So how am I going to price a 3.0 copy, Richard?
Right. I don't know. I would have gone in with an offer 125, 150.
Really?
Yeah. And let him counter. I mean, it's obviously a lowball number.
Yeah.
But if he's coming at 200, he's
300 is what he was asking. I was going to do 200. And I thought that was insulting.
No. To me, you can say yes or no. It's not. I'm not trying to insult you. Rarely I try to insult anyone. It's just my honest opinion, what I think the book is worth. And if he thinks and can give me additional reasons why I should pay more money than what I think it's worth, then let's have a conversation. Otherwise, take my offer, or I don't have to have it, right? I mean, there are very few books I have to have, and especially on a Sunday when he's looking ready to pack up.
He was packing up. I mean, it was literally 4:30, 4:45. The show's ending at 5, and I thought for sure he was going to throw out a number, but he never did. Both of them, because Tales from the West, 3D Tales from the West is a rare book too. 600 for both of them was just too rich for my blood for that condition.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Ralph, if he had come in at 400, I might have done it, but he didn't even throw out a number. It was that classic negotiation standoff. Like, the first person to throw out a number loses.
Mm-hmm.
So
I see. I don't do those. I give a number, and as a start a conversation, it may be low, but
dealers remember this face, dealers.
I can, like I said, and most of these books I don't have to have. There are a few books that I just don't come up at all.
Yeah.
And if I came across a copy, I would be forced to make an offer because I'll never see it again. But those books are few and far between. While this is a rare book, I mean, the fact that there's comps on it, even if it's only a couple of years ago, means there's copies out there. It's not the only copy in the world.
Those two books, along with the aforementioned Hanna-Barbera TV Stars #1 with Captain Caveman, are classic examples of John books that, like, I don't know I want them until I see them on someone's wall. And then, so that's how I justified walking away. And now that I'm home and everything's calmed down, I'm kind of glad I didn't do it. Because again, where am I going to store it? It's oversized.
That's tough. I mean, I probably get it slabbed just so it's in a magazine slab, and then you don't have to.
Yeah, what would they do with the glasses though?
You keep them because
they slab them with the glasses. I guess I have to keep them.
Yeah, you'll have to keep them.
Well, you guys know. Let us know in the comments.
It's like COAs. They don't slab COAs when you submit it to
Yeah.
I don't send them in with the book. I tape them to the back of the slab when it returns.
All right. That's going to wrap it up. Oh, Canada, we love you. We tease you because we love you. We're on your side, believe it or not.
Canadians are the nicest people. You know, it's funny. When I used to go there for training a lot as well, and it was just such a great place to be. I used to really look forward to going to Canada because I like the people, not because I like the training.
We love you, Canada. Now, Greenland, you're on notice. All right. We will see you members on Wednesday, and we will see everyone else next Monday. Have a great week.
Everybody stay safe.